Man, you come straight out of a comic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Straight Out of a Comic Book. I love how everybody, that music just gets everybody ready to go.
There we go. Hey.
Yeah, man. We be trying to get y'all ready, man, especially with what we be talking about on here, man, because the conversations go into some deep rabbit holes, and it is no different today. We are talking about Marvel Thunderbolts. All right, it's out. If you're watching this, we're giving out spoilers. So if you ain't seen it, I suggest you go watch one of my other episodes that we have out. Where we talking about Captain America or doing our Saturday morning cartoon lineup. Go watch them because we about to tell a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm very honored because I have a dope guest in here today, you know, trying to get so many more of the Blurs community in here. And if you are a huge wrestling fan, he is one of the quarterbacks of the Before the Bell podcast. If you don't watch wrestling, I'm sure you have seen him going to town on some guacamole on one of these commercials that play on these streaming services. Either way, you know this face. And if you don't know those things, you also know that he is a hilarious comedian here doing stand-up across the nation. I think even across the world. I'm going to throw out there across the world to say he's doing it too. Martin Morrow is in the building. Martin, thank you for joining us. Glad to have you here. How you feeling today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about some comic book movies, man. This is what we need. This is what the world needs. This is what our community needs.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, man. I'm just trying to provide that platform for us, man. But we gonna get into it. Thunderbolts, man. Thunderbolts is out. It is in IMAX theaters, regular theaters, and it has been getting rave reviews. Some have said it is the best Marvel movie ever made. Debatable. Is it a great Marvel movie? Absolutely. But we are going to break it down, talk a little bit about the movie, give a couple of our predictions that's leading into what's coming next for Marvel, as well get into some cool creative segments like play, download, and delete, and some other things. But those that aren't really familiar with the Thunderbolts, they kind of fall in that same category as the Guardians of the Galaxy. They are a team of reformed supervillains that were brought together to take on the dangerous tasks that sometimes the heroes cannot take on. They originally premiered, I believe, in the Incredible Hulk series, issue number 449. And normally they were considered to be the masters of evil because they would portray themselves as heroes, but really was over here doing some villainous shit, and led by Baron Zemo, who we have seen in the MCU, who was also displayed to have been in the Thunderbolts MCU movie. But we know a lot of things have changed, especially since COVID, especially with the changes in phase 4 and 5. And so you get the Thunderbolts that you do see here today. Now, Martin, I want to ask you, with the lineup of characters that we do have that make up the Thunderbolts, a lot of them are, I don't want to necessarily call villains, maybe slightly anti-hero-ish when it comes to this, just kind of led astray in the wrong direction. But we've seen all of them throughout the MCU. Never really gave a lot of these people a second thought, maybe outside of the Winter Soldier and Yelena. But what are your thoughts on the team that was formed for the Thunderbolts? How you're feeling about them?
I think the team itself came together in a very organic manner. These are all the people who worked for Dave Fontaine. And in a way, like it didn't make it too over the top supernatural. So when they had to, we're kind of jumping ahead, but when they had to fight Bob or Sentry and Void, I mean, really all one and the same, it made it more realistic. They get their ass whooped versus like there's something I read where someone said if Steve Rogers led this team, they would have all been killed. And I was like, that is exactly right. This is a team of people who are smarter because they know when to retreat. That's why they all live during their movies.
Yep. Nah, I agree. And I think that's why it was even doper that it was led by Bucky Barnes, because outside of Cap, Bucky is the ultimate survivor out of everybody. The dude is like, 120 years old now?
Yeah.
And is still somehow being able to move around, do stuff, is I believe a congressman or a senator now.
Yeah, congressman. I was like, wait, when did we vote? I don't remember this.
Right. I was like, was this during the blip? Like, did half the nation vote for him? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But I agree. I like the team that was put together because this movie gave us a chance to give, to give them a second chance. And I feel like each and every single one of them were an essential piece and really delivered, with the exception of one that we see in the future. And I would definitely like to talk about this person, Taskmaster.
Yeah,
I want to know, Bart, did you? A lot of people suspected that Taskmaster was not going to make it in this movie. Were you under the same impression that Taskmaster was going to die in this? And were you shocked at how early it happened in the film?
So here's the thing. I remember the trailers kind of not even gave it away, but I was like, yo, Taskmaster is not in a lot of the trailer stuff. She was featured in marketing, pretty heavy. And I saw what they put her in like the background of scenes, but they like it's same with like a horror movie. You can always tell when a character isn't gonna be in the horror movie for long because they'll be just kind of featured in like that one part where they're walking and you're like, oh, they're dying. They're definitely dying. So I was surprised more so by how she got killed because I was thinking, oh, clearly Void or Sentry is gonna just body Taskmaster. That that's something that Taskmaster can't replicate fighting style wise. So I thought, oh, she'll at least make it to the middle, but for it to be the first, like 10, 15 minutes and Ghost of all people to be the one to kill her. And on top of that, for them to kind of be like, oh, that sucks. She tried. She was a good person at some point. I was like,
not even a good person. She had a fucked up life and she died how she went.
Yeah. Like, what? I was like, okay, well, that's what we're doing with this. All right. That is a hell of a way to write her off.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. Like, I was like, the first time it happened when Ghost did her and put a bullet in her head, I was like, now all these scenes wouldn't see when she dodging bullets. Yeah. And the upfront close one is what got her. I was like, y'all wild for this. And in the incinerator. So it's like,
oh, dead.
Yeah, dead. No funeral, no nothing.
No.
But this opens up now, though.
They made it very definitive too. Like, because typically the rule of thumb is if you don't see a body, then you don't know. But like seeing her dead body laid out, they had the blood come from I was like, oh my God, all right, we get it. You killed her.
She's gone.
She's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think what it shows is too of how Kevin Feige is trying to do his best to clean up everything when it comes to us getting ready for Doomsday and Secret Wars, because now with her gone, this leads us to maybe going back to the original Taskmaster, I believe Anthony Masters, and to be able to take up the mantle and introducing him. Now I want to get your thoughts on this because I was talking with some of my folks in the Blur community, bless you. So this might be a good idea because you sneezed. Jason Sudeikis, Ted Lasso as Taskmaster. Your thoughts on this?
I wouldn't be mad at that. The only issue is Taskmaster usually wears a mask, and it'll be kind of weird to have this comedic figure play this character and play it in a manner where oh, well, yeah, it's me. All right, get ready to fight. Like, here's some quips and stuff. So I know that there are certain parts of Taskmaster's lore in the comic series that have become a little bit more comical, and like, various scenes that are now kind of memeified. But I would prefer a badass Taskmaster as opposed to a comedic Taskmaster. And I think Jason Sudeikis could play plenty of other roles as opposed to that.
Yeah, you and I are both on the same page. Like, while I did see it, the same thing that got me was the mask part. I was like, Taskmaster don't normally take his mask off. So if you're going to hire someone like Jason Sudeikis, it's like and I'm sure it's not going to be a cheap check to get him there. I'm like, you're not going to have this to where you don't get to see his face and stuff. So I was even saying when we were talking about that, I was like, well, if you were to hire anyone, even though you can't do it because he's already in there, I was going to say the other guy that was the football star that they hired as Hercules for Thor. Yeah, I was like, you can have him in there because we don't necessarily need to see his face. And him as just talking as that, I think would be dope. But I said, I don't think you need to have a major casting for Taskmaster. I just think get somebody that got the physical physique for it, that at least sounds good, and then just cast them as that. And maybe somebody that's not too much of a big name that can start to probably even get a little bit higher of a name just because they're in the MCU.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, but now I wanted to know from so seeing this lineup with the Thunderbolts, we've been getting a lot of comparisons with the Suicide Squad and the Boys. And so, what are your thoughts as far as this comparison, as far as this team goes? Because, like you said, this team is like survivors. They know when they're like, "Hey, let's leave. Let's get out of here. We do not need to try to be heroes."
And I mean, literally, most of the movie is them saying, "Oh, we should probably get out of here. Like, we should escape this shit." Yeah,
it was like, we need y'all to stop this guy, like the Drewski meme. Us, like y'all know who we are, right? Yeah, know who we are. But
what am I supposed to?
What am I supposed to do? This dude can fly. What you want us to do? But I want to get your thoughts though on the setting of where we are right now. So we do know that this takes place after Captain America, Brave New World, and General Ross, President Ross, crashing out as the Hulk, and we're picking up from there. And so one thing I know that I've always been interested in is what is the state of the Earth level of what's going on. Do you feel that this movie gave you a little bit more information on exactly like what the world is kind of looking like on this level outside of the, extraterrestrial space wise, especially after the snap, after Endgame? We didn't really get to see like what's really going on in the world. Do you feel like Thunderbolts kind of gives you that now, especially with them focusing on that we don't have the Avengers anymore?
Oh, definitely. And an element that I always try to consider when I watch movies like this, because I think the sort of easy paintbrush is always, well, why don't they just call Iron Man or Captain America or whatever? So
yeah,
knowing that that our Captain America is in the hospital because he just got his ass whooped by Red Hulk and he broke his wings and stuff. Knowing that Doctor Strange is like out in a weird universe, knowing what's going on with Captain Marvel, how many people are out in space and stuff like that. It on a surface level, it made sense why on this particular day in New York, these were the only ones who were able to save the city or save the world or whatever you want to call it, right? Beyond that, it made sense why so much of it had to be like, all right, we got to clean up a lot of shit because these people are gone. This person hasn't been seen. We don't even know what a Spider-Man is, right? There's so many different elements that really made this come together as this is the time and place for this exact team.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with even David Harbour, who plays Red Guardian. They had asked him a long time ago, and he had said, once you watch Thunderbolts, it's going to change everything about the MCU. This is the one that is going to shape everything moving forward. And I think a lot of people didn't really get what that meant, but you're starting to see it in so many layers now, because especially with the success of the Thunderbolts, this made me see like, okay, this gives the Defenders a second chance, because now it's like you said, we don't have the Avengers, and it's not just this team that's going to be able to do it. And even with, talking about the post-credit scene, which we'll get into a little bit more, we know where that group will sit at. So it's like we still need the street level people of who we need to see. And so that also now too gives us the young Avengers. So I think you're going to start to see multiple groups and multiple characters who we've kind of seen sprinkled throughout the MCU now get a second chance to really give us that shine and kind of wash that bad taste of phase 4 and 5 out and be able to shine like they're supposed to. And it starts with this group of people, which is the Thunderbolts.
And I saw a lot of the Suicide Squad comparisons kind of going into it, but after watching the movie, it's so far removed from anything Suicide Squad-y. I got more elements of The Boys than Suicide Squad by how abrupt things would be and how, a little bit more grounded things would be. But yeah, it definitely did not feel like Suicide Squad. Like they kind of had everything in their own hands, essentially, as far as like planning and making sure, like, okay, well, we could, because like they could have just killed DeFontaine whenever they wanted. They could just be like, oh, let's murk her. She ain't got no powers. But it was, yeah, very different from Waller.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I even think too, like you see some kind of little small comparisons to the boys, but I think this group stands out even more because of how each one of them brought something to the table. Like all of them are different. All of them don't really have too much of a common goal when it comes to what they're trying to achieve. Because you even saw like Ghost wasn't really trying to like, I'm like, I ain't trying to save the world. I'm just trying to not die and not have Valentina knock me off. And then, of course, you got like Red Guardian just like, yo, I'm trying to find that glory again. I'm trying to get that fame. And Yelena, who was just, chef's kiss to Yelena because she was killing it this whole movie, trying to find something new and fill this, no pun intended, but this void that's going on with her. And so I wanted to ask you, especially with this group of, characters we I don't want to say nobody gave a shit about, but it was just kind of like, okay, y'all there. Who stood out to you and really grasped you? And then which one of these motherfuckers you just still don't trust after this movie?
So who really stood out to me, I'm gonna give it a tie, okay? Yelena and US agent John Walker. They both brought an element where I love a good redemption arc, right? I love a good, I just need a second chance. I just need the opportunity to show you I'm a good person and that I'm not gonna let this darkness consume me. And both of them had so many elements of that because John was still trying to put on a front, like, nah, man, I know what I'm doing. My family loves me. That's all this is, baby. Come on. And for them to, when Boyd went in his head, and we saw like, he's on his phone still looking at like, okay, I'm still canceled, right? Having that part of it and having that part of it, that scene, and then them revealing like, no, man, your family left you. I was like, shit, wow. They really put that man on blast like that. And what I loved even most about that scene in particular is they weren't like, oh, you lied to us. They were like, oh, no, we get it.
We get it. Yeah. We all sitting here we all lying to ourselves in a way. All of us are kind of telling lies to ourselves. I did too. I know a lot of people like were kind of shitting on John Walker and just like, oh, he was such an asshole. I was like, nah, John did it for me in this, man. He got me back on his side. And then when you kind of break it down too, it's like, let's really think about this. You got a guy who used to be in the army, who's been presented with a very impossible task. And it's like, hey, we're going to make you the new Captain America. When there's already one that's supposed to be Captain America, but we're going to run you off to do this. The scrutiny you already have of having to pick up this mantle and having all eyes on you as that is already enough pressure. Now you're also adding this new super soldier serum to him that no one knows if it's going to work. No one knows how it's going to respond to him because it responds to everybody differently. And the fact that it came out only like him killing and knocking off one person, I was like, okay, this could have turned out way worse than what it could have been. Like he could have turned into Red Skull. And so it's like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think it was like, I think we're being a little too harsh on this man with all of the stuff that he was given. And it really is just like, I'm really just trying to not only make my family proud, but make myself proud and actually do something good. And to be something to where it's just like, dang, every time I try this stuff, it's just not going the way I need to. Not to say he's not an asshole, because he is an asshole. But it's like how they say in Hot Tub Time Machine. He could be our asshole though. Like we ain't gotta cancel this man a second time after this movie. But yeah, I don't think US agent being treated like a full a-hole for the rest of his term there needs to happen. I feel like he redeemed himself in this movie. That's just my
he was Buzz Lightyear. I mean, that's the best comparison I can give it. He came in kind of with an idea of who he was supposed to be and presented as. And he just got humbled real quick by the other toys around him. and essentially he was like, all right, let me fall in line. But at the same point, at the same token, I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. And I know that I can redeem myself and help people out. And to answer your second question, as far as who I don't trust yet, I mean, we saw that there's still the void inside of Sentry and inside of Bob. So the whole reasoning as to why he can't use his Sentry powers and why he's just like cleaning up the Avenger Tower is because oh boy could still pop off at any moment. And I'm honestly looking forward to whenever we get the Void versus Dr. Doom.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. And I'm gonna get into the Void just in a second.
Yeah.
To answer mine, I'm kind of the same way. I'm Yelena, U.S. agent. It's a tie for me between U.S. agent and Ghost though, because like I'm so glad they brought Ghost back and we got to see her. Like I really want to see a Marvel Presents with her, like an hour special or something, just featuring her. Because I just think like there's a dope story there, and I like the actress as well. The person I don't trust though, it ain't Bob. I do not trust Bucky for nothing in this world. Man. Bucky is so wishy-washy. Like, I do not trust this man at all. Because, like, how you gonna get down with these Avengers, but then say you sitting here repping for the new Captain America? Like, what kind of shit is it? Like, bro, like you always jumping ship.
Yeah, but you know, why wouldn't you? You could be a part of the NWO and DX. So why can't he rep everybody?
Because he ain't repping everybody, and he always leaving something in his wake and be kind of playing this victim thing. Not to mention, he's probably way worse than Bob switching over. Let me not say that, because when Bob goes to the Void, that's a whole different thing. But Bucky is like 7 words from flipping out. Like as soon as I say boxcar, foxtrot, this man about to, hey, bro, like, because they didn't fix that in him. They was like, yo, we don't know all the nuances in his brain that could have done that, so we don't know what could happen. Like I could find Zemo book and then it's a wrap.
Yes, yeah, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, I don't trust Bucky, man. But Bucky,
but I think he's healed a lot. You know, he went to therapy, aka Wakanda. Come on, man, you can't do that to Bucky. He saved everybody.
Listen, I get it, but I still wouldn't fall asleep next to this dude at night. That's all I know. I'd be looking at him when we in the trenches of war, just in case, because you never know. But also too, shout out to Wakanda and Black people, because only Wakandans would think to go, hey, we're gonna give you a metal arm that you can wash in a dishwasher. Because when I thought about this, I was like, outside of how would he clean his arm? Because I know somehow you have to clean this, and how would it go? Making it machine washable, I'm like,
that's genius.
That is genius. That is so genius.
Best tech in the world right there.
Right. But now let me ask you storyline wise. So this is where we get into our portion of the good, the opportunities. I don't like to say bad, but the opportunities to do better. And then kind of those what the fuck moments in Thunderbolts. Let's start off with some of the good things. What were some of the good things that you took away from Thunderbolts and the storyline?
I loved the characterization of, I've mentioned it before, but redemption. And even in seeing Red Guardian and Yelena interact with each other, and how they presented the fact that, like, yo, you haven't talked to me in a year. So how am I supposed to trust anybody? How am I supposed to love anybody, or think that I'm not just alone in this world if the person who's supposed to take care of me the most, especially after my sister died, is not doing that for me. So I love that they had this familial aspect, and also this aspect of like people having to come together and form a family, form a team. That really worked for me. I think that there are other parts of it too, of just really bridging the gap. I think a lot of times people jump the shark in terms of how a team comes together. Yeah. And this felt fully formed. Things made sense. They weren't like wasting time. They weren't like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? Oh, we have to argue about this. But they said, hey, we got to get out of here. So let's figure out a way to get out of here. And they kept it moving.
Yeah, no, I agree. Those were some of like the points that I love seeing. Like we didn't see like what we'll normally see in a movie of like this. Oh, you know, they get together. Then it's like this big argument where they're gonna break up and have to walk over here, do these things, and now they all got to come back together. It's like, nah, we still are in this one piece, this one thing going on. You just get a 5-minute break to kind of get yourself together. I love that about them and them understanding that I need you to get to the goal I'm trying to get to. Like even watching them in the furnace, it's like I had to trust Ghost to come back.
Yeah.
And Ghost understood I can't get out of here by myself. So I do have to get y'all out of here. And it was like, I love that roller coaster of like, okay, are they going to be assholes or are they going to show some redemptions pieces within this movie? And they were doing it. And then just like how you said, Yelena and her dad, oh my God. Like when she said, Daddy, I'm so alone, I was like,
ooh, I was gutted.
Like, come on, don't have me crying in this theater right now.
Thug
tears for real. But I loved it because they still show you how important Black Widow was to the both of them. And it also shows you too, to Yelena's point, because you know, like I had just finished watching Black Widow a couple of days ago, and it still gets to me about just how much of an impact 3 years can be for somebody. Because at first you kind of shrug it over, like, you know, like, why is she still so attached to her? And she only was with her for 3 years. And then like for like 20 years, you never saw her. And you had to go through the process with the Red Room. Like, why are you still attached to her? But it's like, yo, in them 3 years, it seems like so much happened for them to where it just connected this soul bond that never broke. And I just think that's amazing to see with her. And especially like with Red Guardian, who I also think was like the MVP of the movie, just from everything he did. But just being able to come forth and show her like in this bed of darkness that you got, like you don't see the light that you bring that I see within you. And I was just like, yo, as much as I be thinking you ain't shit as a dad, then you say stuff like this, and I'm like, come on, man. What the man? Come on, bro. What we doing? And I love the mental health aspects that they had all throughout this movie of just just being like doubting yourself, questioning yourself, like, do I deserve these things? Do I deserve to belong to just, and not even just from a group aspect as far as heroes go, but just in general, you know, like to see Bob fight with himself as the Void. It was just like, man, I like that because it took us away from what we normally see in these Marvel movies recently of big time stories, big action, and then heavy in the cameos. It's like, no, we got back to like when Iron Man came first, when Thor was here, like a great storyline focused on who we need to be focused on and what's around them that'll tie us into the next movie. I thought they did that so well with this movie.
Yeah, it was well-rounded in its characters, well-rounded in its stories, and well-rounded in its message, right? It like even I was worried at one point it would go to Guardians of the Galaxy, of like, oh, if we like dance, we can kill the. But they weren't even really trying to kill the villain. They were like, we just need to stop this. And sometimes what you do to stop somebody from crashing out is you give them a hug. When that happened and they all hugged him and Bob was crying, I said, oh my, I was crying.
That was 10 times better than Captain America's ending. I was like, he was just like, listen, just calm down. I was like, are y'all really doing the sun's getting real low right now? I was not feeling. He's like, hold on. Just remember your daughter. Calm down, Ross. Like,
put a bad green screen.
Yeah, I was like, all right, if that's what we gonna do for this, okay. I didn't like that. But this one, when they did that, are like, yo, he just need a hug and need to understand you not alone. And we got you. I'm like,
come on,
nah, man. Don't, man. I ain't got no tissue. I ain't got no. Man, y'all finna have me, man. Just
yeah, I was boo-hooing. Because yeah, I mean, really, again, sometimes that's what you need. You need to know that the darkness doesn't have to consume you. All you need is to know that people are around you. People need to. That's in any aspect of life. So much of it is about how do you build community, and sometimes you build that community in your darkest hour. Is when you think that the darkness or the evil or the bad or how people view you or what they think of you, that's what you're supposed to be. But in reality, it's like no, you're a person who has lived a life, who's made mistakes, who's gone through stuff, and who's hurting. And sometimes when that's what's taken over you, all you need is a hug.
Yeah. And I just thought it came together so well with that. And it was just like I didn't need no big crazy ending. I didn't need this like, oh, he's defeated. Yay for this. It was like, yo, like that's it. That's what we needed. That's what we needed to see. But I think that's what all of them needed to know. Like, nah, you belong. You don't have to be in the shadows. You don't just have to be a weapon. You don't have to be a failed experiment. You don't have to live under the scrutiny of a past thing that you did. It was like, yo, you're not by yourself in this. And I just thought they delivered it so well with this team. But now we get into what I like to call the opportunities. It's something that I learned at Apple. Rather than telling them like, yo, this is what you bad at, it's like, no, this is what you have an opportunity to get better at. Mm-hmm. And so I want to know from you, is there any opportunities that you saw in Thunderbolts that could you have used a little work?
You know, if there was anything I would have. Okay, so I have one that's insane and one that I think is reasonable.
You at the right place.
Yeah, I'll go reasonable first. I think they could have fleshed out Taskmaster a little bit more for us and for these characters to care about her. Especially if she's gonna die quick, then so I would have opened with maybe different side by sides, Yelena doing her mission, Walker doing his mission, Ghost doing a mission, Taskmaster doing a mission, and then you see even seeing Taskmaster's struggles in life or whatever. I don't talk to nobody. My face burnt up, so I can't get no dudes or shit, whatever Taskmaster's into. Having that, and then this person dies. There's something about I don't know if you saw Creature Commandos, right?
Yeah,
yeah, but that was a show that made some of these characters matter, even if they didn't really matter. You know what I mean? And that's something I would have loved to have seen a little bit more, at least from the element of Taskmaster. Because if you kill her off and she's just been in one scene fighting people, then it's just like killing off a grunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I would have loved to have known what she was up to. I didn't need to know what everybody else had been up to, but again, just watching Black Widow, the last time we saw her, she was on the ground, knocked out, getting picked up by a Black Widow agent. So it's what happened to her? How did she meet Valentina? How did she fall into this fold? We got to kind of learn that with Yelena in the Hawkeye series, fighting off of these, to find more Black Widows, and then the blip happens. I would have liked to have seen that with Taskmaster and to see what has she been up to and how did she get to this point.
Yeah. And my more ridiculous one, I'm always, when do they poop? When do they go to the bathroom? There's got because here's the thing, man. They were in the little furnace. I was like, okay, so that probably took them. They did the countdown. They're probably in their fight for 10 minutes. There was 2 minutes of, 2 minutes of that, and then so I know they didn't shower. So it was at least 2 or 3 days they didn't shower. Right? They weren't clean. No, Bucky said we're gonna send for a helicopter to get us here to New York. Helicopters typically don't have bathrooms on them. Then they went straight to go fight Sentry. So I was like, okay, they still look kind of dirty and musty from when they were in the desert. I know they ate the cactus. So they had to process that at some point. Did they have any time to pee or poop? Did they only eat the cactus? Did they have any water in between? I would hope they had water on the helicopter, but mostly when did they poop?
Mark, that's why I'm glad I got you on the show, because you think of stuff I think of. Because I thought the same thing of. So is nobody gonna mention the odor?
Yeah.
There's no way y'all don't stink.
They in
Like,
full
there's no way.
bodysuits.
In full body suits, running around, sweating y'all asses out. Y'all went from desert to the city. I think maybe had been in a sewer at one point. I can't fully remember, but it's like y'all have been moving, and we already know Red Guardian don't normally be hygienically pleasing to everybody. So I'm just like, was nobody gonna bring up like, yo, y'all need a shower or something like that before this pop off?
Musty.
We just musty out here.
Gross.
Just musty and gross. I'm like, yo, when you see these fight scenes and like Yelena coming up to like tie her legs around to do a hurricane, it's like, whoo.
That's what passes them out. He shouldn't even got to break their neck.
They just passed out already.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even get to finish the move. Yeah, because they got a whiff of you and you kind of stink.
Yeah. No deodorant in that. They got 4 guns. No deodorant.
No deodorant.
Mouthwash, nothing.
No bottle of water to kind of hit them pit stains, nothing. I'm just like, I be thinking about that shit all the time when I see like it going from like they like straight through, and it's like, so we didn't stop off at a hotel to just hit the body wash. Something.
Fast and Furious. Like a lot of these, Fast and Furious is another one. So I'm like, yeah, he's been wearing that same white t-shirt for 7 days straight, brother.
Yeah. And not dirty. Nothing, not a stain on it. I'm like, yo, I don't know what they washed this with for you put it on, but please teach us.
Yeah.
Because I got about a good 10 minutes before my white shirt is dirty, which is why I don't wear them.
Yeah.
I think my only opportunity I had, which I get for the sake of this movie, and also because you're presenting it to kids, but I really wish they would have showed us like the Void, like how he look in the comics, instead of just this dark version of Sentry, because this is what the Void really looked like.
Oh wow.
Like, imagine seeing that in the sky.
Yeah,
I was like, this is what I needed. I like this. This would have set off Sentry way more for me if I'd have seen him fighting this. But I get that may have been just a little bit maybe too scary for some of the audience that they're trying to bring in. So I understand why they didn't go that route. That was kind of my only gripe that I had. And then again, these are just like what I call first world problems. Nothing that it was like, okay, it ain't that big of a deal. But I wanted Sentry to just be a tad bit bigger. Because when he walked out in the suit, I was like, you are small.
Yeah. Well, and I guess he was almost Steven Yeun was gonna. That's not. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But I was like, I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, this was definitely better. Because he would have looked weird in that. And I, as someone who is not overly familiar with the Void, I didn't mind this being kind of the inverse of Sentry, but I did like start kind of researching a little bit more, and I saw like the panel where the Void is taken over by symbiotes. Yeah, and so I was like, oh, so this they at least have something they can build to. Visually. So I think because this is also like first form the Void.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot that they could build to, assuming they keep this character alive and well and prospering and growing throughout the course of however many movies Pullman signed up for.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because he is like kind of a crucial part to Secret Wars. So I hope that we do get to see that, especially dealing with like the Fantastic Four coming up, because there's a comic where like Sentry beats the shit out of Galactus. Like no holds barred. He was like, nah, come catch these hands. And he delivers like a Christmas present. I'm like, oh my God. So hopefully we'll see that. But like you said, this being the first like the baby phase of it, it's just like, yo, it works. And I get it. That was just again one of my like I would have loved to seen that fully from what I know about the comics. And I think seeing that more evil side would have been dope, especially when we see them go into the Void and have to deal with all of their stuff. I think we would have got something a little bit more sinister from it. But again, like you said, this is just the first rendition of him. So it's like, as it starts to progress, maybe when they do have to go back into that Void, it looks a whole lot different because he's a whole lot different. So I think it's dope for long storytelling.
Yeah, and I wondered too, what did that little girl do? Because when the Void snatched her up, I was like, did she? Wait, what is her trauma? She's
Yeah,
like,
what's her trauma?
yeah,
she stole out of Walmart one time, and it just wasn't. It was downhill from there.
Yeah,
or she got lost in a toy store or something. Yeah. I was like, what was her trauma? That'd be great. Yo, that'd have been a great kind of post-credit scene too. To just know, like, what was the kid's trauma when she went in there? That'd have been dope to see. But we're gonna matter of fact, no. So I did have a segment in here where we were going to rate the suits, but I was like, well, and then myself was like, it would be a huge miss on my end if I did not tie wrestling into this in some way or some fashion. So I wanted to know from you, with the Thunderbolts that you see here, where would these characters go in the wrestling world? Would they go to WWE? Would they go to AEW? Would they go to the Indies? And then what championship would you see them have first? So let's start with Red Guardian. Where do you see which company do you see Red Guardian signing to?
Red Guardian, he's a little bit older, but he's seasoned. He had former glory. This is a dude that would pop up in TNA wrestling, and he would go for the TNA International Championship.
Ooh, yeah. See, I'd have been so dumb if I did not ask you this. And the fact that if I'd have missed this opportunity. Ghost. Where do you see Ghost signing, and what championship do you see her having her eyes set on?
Ghost would be a little bit underutilized, but I think that she would end up in AEW, but more so on their Ring of Honor roster, and she would go for the ROH, like the women's pure title.
I can't wait to make this clip. I can't wait. Taskmaster, even though they killed her off, she's still gonna get her flowers. Where do you see her, and what title do you see her going for?
So Taskmaster, very skilled, very equipped, but doesn't have good talking skills. So she would start off in NXT, but would get released, and then would go to AEW. And I think that's where she'd kind of find her flowers, and she'd go for the TBS title in AEW.
I like how you got a whole storyline for her getting let go and then getting back.
I got to pick up them contracts, man. Hey,
it fits so well to her Marvel story too.
Yeah,
it's like it's consistent. Let's. I'm very interested in this. Bob, where do you see Bob going?
All right, so Bob would start off on the Indies. And then he would get on steroids. He'd get bulked up, become Sentry, and then WWE sees this. They pick him up, and then they they pick him up, and then Bob starts getting into some other stuff, and they're like, "Oh, this dude's really the Void." So they push him for the World Heavyweight title, like contendership. But they would have to drop him down and be like, yo, we might have to just make you like more of a US title contender.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. Because they be kind of iffy with these mythical creatures now. And if he started hitting the Void, it's gonna be like, we can't fully sell that would make you the world champ.
Yeah.
Being the Void. So I could that is incredible. All right, US Agent. I'm definitely interested in this one.
U.S. Agent. So he would be a former WWE champion that people didn't really get behind. And then he would pop up in AEW, and they would also not really be feeling him there. Because they're like, hey, isn't this that dude who like killed people in WWE? Like, yeah, he's not. He's kind of an asshole though. Like, okay, so let's just send him to MMA. So he ended up like MMA, and then like having like a cryptocurrency on
I love this.
he would make sure you call it X and not Twitter.
He would probably have one of the greatest Dark Side of the Ring episodes ever. Like that would be the top episode in whatever season they put it in. Bucky, where do you see him going?
Bucky is another guy who would come in, territory dude, old school, and then I'd see him like starting off in TNA. He'd be kind of like an AJ Styles of the Marvel universe. And then he really builds a name for himself in that realm, in that space. Grows his hair out, starts riding motorcycles, stuff. Becomes kind of a anti-hero badass. Then goes to WWE and wins the Intercontinental title.
I like it. God, man, I'm so glad we did this, bro, because they're just all so on point right now. Oh my God. And last but certainly not least, Yelena,
that is our women's champion right there. She's the one who top brass WWE. She's on SmackDown every week doing all the kid signings and stuff. At first, people don't trust her. They don't know what to do with her. Like, oh, she was in NXT, but she was kind of like, old girl we had before who had red hair. She's just the blonde version of this, but then she builds a character of her own and builds a storyline of her own and starts seeing success in that regard to where they're like, yo, she could be the leader and the face of the company.
No notes.
Thank you.
No notes at all. I don't even want to give where I'm putting these people. That's the clip right there. Thank you so much for that. I'm telling you, thank you so much. That was super incredible. If you're watching this, let us know in the comments below where y'all would place these characters if they were wrestlers. Good luck topping that, though. Definitely good luck topping that. Now, there's another segment that I usually have on here, which is called Play, Download, Delete. And if you're familiar with, F, Marry, Kill, it's just a little bit of a switch up. So what I like to do is, especially for talking about comic books and movies, I always like to give you three categories or three options, and you will pick which one you would play immediately, which one you would download for later, and which one would you just completely delete from history. And of course, since we're talking about the Thunderbolts, this is centered around Marvel movies. And so your three options today are the Thunderbolts, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Avengers Age of Ultron.
Okay. I'm going to play Thunderbolts. I thought that this was at least top 5 Marvel movies of all time. I really enjoyed the characterization, and I think that it's one of those movies where you'll find something new and different every time you rewatch it. So yeah. I would play that immediately just for that sake. I would download Guardians of the Galaxy. I think because the story is already has been completed, and it was one of those stories that just kept ramping up and getting better and better over time. I would love to rewatch it, but I don't have to do it right now. You know what I mean? I'll watch it on a plane. That's a good plane movie right there. And then, I'm gonna delete Age of Ultron the same way they deleted Quicksilver.
you just firing shots in and just bop, 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 bop.
Yeah.
Get up out of here.
Out of here.
Well, Martin, you're not alone. You're not alone. We are pretty much in the same standings. I'm playing Thunderbolts for the exact same reasons. You'll find something dope. Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, still is one of the best Marvel trilogies that they've had. And I will debate that anytime, anywhere. Age of Ultron, you try it again. Let's reboot it. Since y'all reboot other things, let's reboot Age of Ultron. Let's give it another swing. And this time keep Quicksilver in there. And maybe kill off Barton. I wouldn't be mad at that. Yeah. Or don't kill Ultron yet. There's a lot of things they could have done. Like I like what If tried to do with Ultron, but then What If just became so what ify of like, what if Black Panther had Iron Man powers? Yeah. Like, where are we going with this? And then it's like, oh, now the Watcher's involved. I thought he just supposed to watch.
Yeah, that's his whole name.
Yeah.
Go watch.
Yeah, what we doing? Now he interact. He's not the interactor. What's going on? We won't even talk about season 3 because that was just way too much. But let us know in the comments which one would you play, download, and delete between the Thunderbolts, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Avengers Age of Ultron. Just in case you didn't catch it, we're both in the same boat. We would play Thunderbolts, download Guardians of the Galaxy, and we deleting Avengers Age of Ultron just because they killed Quicksilver.
Yeah, just get us to the end game.
Yeah, just get us to the end game. And then also let Ant-Man create Ultron, not the way y'all did it in the movie. Let's really make it happen the way it happened. So, but now we get into the fun part. This is my phantom casting where we start really getting into our creative minds and start going into the what if possibilities, going down the rabbit hole. Now, for this, we know that there have been several members of the Thunderbolts in the comic books, but I want to know from you, although we did enjoy who they did bring collectively for the live action version, I want to know if you were at the helm of the Thunderbolts live action movie, what MCU characters would you have cast to been in the Thunderbolts? And we'll do 5 of them. So if you had to select 5 characters for your own Thunderbolts, which characters would you have selected?
So honestly, I would have kept most of it the same, but I do love Norman Osborn's Iron Patriot. Because he's so you like when you asked earlier, who do you not trust on here? He's always got something else he's like cooking up, and he's always like trying to kill somebody or do something sinister under the guise of being good. So I definitely would have figured out a way to, and I like was it Coleman Domingo's depiction of
I was just about to ask. Ooh, you took the question right out of my head. Which one was you going with?
Yeah, so that would have been my guy right there.
So okay, so that means you enjoyed the ones that they did put together, and just in addition, you'd go with Iron Patriot.
Yes.
Okay,
and so I actually did, because you told me about the casting thing. I did something a little bit different. I made a '90s version of the Thunderbolts with this cast, or I used a casting with the Thunderbolts from this movie, but if we made it in the '90s, okay. So I'd like to rattle this off for you now.
All right, well, shoot, let's go then. Let's hear we had a cast. Let's go. Who you starting off with first?
So in the role of Yelena is none other than the charming Sandra Bullock.
Mm-hmm. Yo, Sandra Bullock as Yelena in the '90s too?
Come on.
Well, see, now I got to know though, who did you cast as Black Widow to play her sister?
Julia Roberts. Right
once
there.
Once again, no notes.
We win an Oscar over here. You know,
yeah.
That's what we're doing.
We get nominated.
We're getting at least a nomination.
Yeah.
For Bucky Barnes, Brad Pitt.
Yeah. With the arm? Oh,
yeah.
Shit, with the arm? Oh, man. Right after 7 just dropped too at Fight Club?
Heartthrob.
Oh.
As Red Guardian, Gene Hackman. R.I.P.
Ooh, yes, R.I.P. Ooh. People sleep on Gene Hackman as an actor. Oh, and he would have really brought a lot to Red Guardian. I think he would have made it this success just like David Harbour did for this one. I like that.
Yes. As U.S. Agent, Bruce Willis.
Yo, this budget.
We're spending a lot of money.
This is a lot of budget. Wait, with hair or bald?
Let's go. Okay, with like little like thinning hair.
Okay. Because again, I like both versions of Bruce. I like hair Bruce, but bald Bruce was also getting that work in.
Yeah, and I think what will add to it is if they keep insulting him about his hairline and stuff, and then when they do the 6 months later, he's completely bald.
Oh yeah, with the beret on too.
Yeah. And then as Ghost, Vanessa Williams.
Whoo, just her fight scenes alone. Oh, sir. After seeing Eraser too. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Susan Sarandon as DeFontaine.
Yeah, you trying to get an award. You trying to get an Oscar for real.
Yes. And then playing the role of Bob, Bill Pullman.
I mean, listen, keep it in the family.
Yeah.
Keep it in the family, right?
It's right there.
You know what I'm saying?
Although a second contender would be Keanu Reeves.
I could so see that.
Yeah,
I could so see that. I could definitely see Keanu, like a young Keanu Reeves being Bob. Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Sheesh. This movie is like $300 million off top just for
no, we're spending a lot of money.
But we getting an award.
Oh,
an
we're
award
getting awards. This movie's selling out. This is gonna run the summer. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Like it's over. Like I wouldn't. If I was a movie part, if I was making movies, I'm not dropping in the summer. Be like, listen, fall. That's where we gonna make our money because Thunderbolts got it for the rest of the summer. This is blockbuster right here.
Yeah.
Oh, that is.
And all these people know. Maybe Will Smith will make a cameo as Captain America. We don't know. We don't know. Is that Hollywood?
Yeah, that was my doctor because I just noticed your heart rate went up. You okay? You've been taking your medicine. You all right over there? You're like, no, this man getting my pressure up. This man got me going down rabbit holes now. Will Smith as Cap?
Yeah.
That damn near could have happened now.
I mean, with Doomsday.
Yo, listen, if y'all watching this, I'm hoping just somebody in Morrow, it gotta be Fahi, just somebody. If you watching this, if we can get a variant of Will Smith as Captain America, just thank you. That's all we saying. That if y'all just need to cast some people, Will Smith as Captain America, let's make this happen. Let's make this happen. But yeah, I think I
would even take Will Smith as Kang if we were done with Jonathan Majors.
Now I do gotta ask this because you won't hear. And we are getting into our what ifs, and that does kind of lead us into, of course, talking about Avengers Doomsday, Secret Wars, and we're gonna start talking about the post-credit scene. With what you've seen happening, with what we've seen with the casting and stuff, what do you think? Do you think we will see Jonathan Majors come in as Kang between these two movies?
I don't. I highly doubt it. And I feel like he is at least owed a proper send off. Because they made that character so OP'd and stuff like that, and like he seems so central to what they were building. And I guess in a way they killed him off in Ant-Man, and in a way they killed him off in Loki season 2, but that didn't feel as complete, especially when you showed us the scene of like how many Kangs there are in the universe or in the multiverse. So I think that there is more that they could do, at least to adjust the character. Even if it is, I would honestly take even like Doomsday showing up in that Kang arena and doing something where you just see like behind the shoulder and he kills off all the Kangs. I'll take that, but I don't like them leaving this kind of hanging. I think that's what really messed up so much of that last phase of Marvel movies. So I have a hard time seeing him come back, but I do believe the character could come back in some manner or be displayed in a way that at least lets that character move on.
Yeah, I agree. I even think we will. I think we will see a cameo in some capacity like that, because one of the theories that I have is that Doom is going to figure out how to get to the TVA, and I think he's going to kill Loki. And then that's how he gets a hold of a majority of the timelines. And then that's when you get to see where this arena was. You see him saying, yo, it's starting. The war for all the timelines is starting again. But this time it's not the Kangs, it's Doom. And then you see Doom come in and just wreck shop with all the new powers that he has.
Yeah, I love that. That's what they do. And honestly, whatever they do, if these movies are 4 hours long, I'm fine. I'll sit through it.
Right. I'll go to the bathroom before.
Yeah.
But like, just give me an intermission. Give me just like a brief intermission real quick where it's like, okay, let me run for the bathroom. And so I can get back. And then, all right, I'm ready for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I do hope they do something like that, or something where we have to deal with time and we see Ramatut in some form or fashion, because I started breaking this down now with how the Avengers did this. Well, how Kevin Feige did this with the Avengers. And I don't know if you caught this. Do you notice every Avengers is centered around the Infinity Stones?
Mm-hmm.
So first one is blue. That's the Tesseract. Age of Ultron, red, has to do with reality. Scarlet Witch. Infinity War, the Mind Stone. That was the most important one that he needed to be able to finally do the snap. The fourth one, Endgame, has to do with power, the battle of power between evil and good. Now you have Doomsday, which is going to have to do with the Time Stone, which is green. Avengers is Secret Wars, which is y'all battling for the soul of Marvel and the MCU. So Doomsday is going to have to do with time. And so if that's the case, it's like I'm hoping we get to see some version of Kang, even Nathaniel Richards. Like I'll take a Nathaniel Richards if need be. And like you said, but giving him his proper send-off. Like I don't want it to be just like I would hate for it to be like the last thing I saw of Kang is him get his ass whooped by Ant-Man.
Yeah, because that was insane. I was like, this is what we're doing?
This is what we doing? Like, yeah, I know Kang ain't got hands like that. Like I know, like, you know, he was bullied. Yeah, and he's a scientist, but I'm like, Ant-Man though? That's what we doing? Ant-Man? Okay. All right, if that's what we going with. Now, we're gonna talk about this post-credit scene. And I want to start with first with, of course, us now knowing that the Thunderbolts and what the asterisk meant was we got the new Avengers.
Yeah.
But your thoughts on this?
A lot of people have been complaining about that they got spoiled after the weekend, and it wasn't that significant of a part of the movie to where it took away from what the movie means and what it will lead to, especially now knowing that, you know, there's what what's the next movie coming out? Fantastic Four, and then Avengers Doomsday comes out next year. So I don't think it killed anything for real.
It doesn't. The only thing I would say I was against is feeding into this new audience that has to know everything in order to go see the movie.
Yeah.
And I've definitely complained about that before, like on media through content, that like I don't like that this new generation of moviegoers has taken away the magic of wanting to go see a movie. Like, it's like, why do you need to know everything that's going on? Why do you need to know the cameos? Why do you need to know so much of the plot just to go pay $20 to go be impressed?
Yeah.
Like, I just need one trailer and I'm like, either I'm hooked or I'm not hooked. But even if I'm not hooked, it's like, okay, it's Tuesday. I got $13.
Yeah.
Let's go check this out.
I have an AMC A-list, Stubbs Reward, all that jazz, man. Sometimes I don't even need a trailer. And in fact, sometimes I prefer not to see a trailer because I feel like a lot of trailers tell you everything. So
yeah,
if I see the title of a movie and I see I got like 2 hours to kill, I might just go see that movie just for that. Like there's at least 4 movies that I'm like, man, I wish I would have gone to see Death of a Unicorn because I don't know what it's about, but now it's gone.
Why are we, Martin, bro? Why are we here right now? Because I was literally just about to say that the example was I went to see Death of a Unicorn based off the name. And it was great. It was right to the point. It was everything that I needed it to be. I was like, did not mind paying $7 to see this. I did not waste 2 hours of my time watching this movie. I think it's on Prime now, though, too, if you want to check it out. Okay. But it was a good movie. It is one of those, like you said, don't know the trailer, just know the name. Saw that Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega's in it. I got 2 hours to kill. Let's go check this out. And I wasn't mad. I just think that that's the stuff that we need to get back to, instead of films and film studios being so scared because they've put so much money into it that it's not going to make its money back. It's like, yo, like, you want us to have faith in your story, have faith in us that we'll go watch it, rather than telling us everything. Because that's what I felt about with Deadpool. I was like, yo, like, why did y'all tell me Gambit was in here? Why would you show me X-23 2 weeks before the movie is about to drop? I'm like, what? Like, yo.
Yeah, I hated that.
I hate it.
let me go. And so I avoid Twitter now for that reason. So I try to avoid Twitter from any, because I feel like that's the main place where movies go to get spoiled. And I hate when it starts leaking. And like, don't bring that to Instagram. This Instagram is for looking at butts and and funny videos, right? That's it. So yeah, y'all leave that over there. Don't bring that over here.
Yeah. It used to be safe over at Instagram. Then they'd be like, because you used to be like, hey, spoiler if you slide over. It's like, okay, cool. At least you prepared me. Now it's just like, boom, new Avengers. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
It's just Monday. It's only been out 3 days. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Wait, at least give it a week. Give it a week.
A week. I'm just like, okay, after a week, if y'all want to say something, you want to talk about it, understandable. It's like, and then 2, if you haven't seen it yet, you can avoid those before it's time to go see. But 3 days?
Yeah.
Like, it's just Wednesday and y'all already telling stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy. But the mid-credit scene, we see the new Avengers Tower, loving the logo.
Yep.
We see them in the new suits. Of course, we also see Red Guardian being Red Guardian, and then learning that there's now beef. Captain America is suing for the rights to the Avengers name.
Which is crazy. Last I remember, Captain America wasn't making a ton of money being Captain America. I remember when it was Captain America on Disney Plus, and my man was like, "Yeah, we might have to sell the house."
Couldn't get a bank loan.
Couldn't get a bank loan.
Save the world.
Yeah.
Which also made me wonder too. In the new Captain America, I was like, "Yo, who's funding him?" Yo, because when I seen their office and like Falcons, the new Falcon setup, I was like, "Who's bankrolling this?"
Yeah.
And they never cleared that up. And I'm like, so do you work for the government again? Something. I'm like, who is your sugar mama that's going ahead and just paying for all of this? Be like, you need your shield wash, baby. I got you.
You got to GoFundMe for
Captain America doing OnlyFans. That's what's going on. That's what's happening. But like your thoughts that now, like this is gonna start becoming like kind of a situation between the two, and especially how the new Avengers were feeling learning this about Cap. Like, where does that sit with you, especially leading into Doomsday and Secret Wars?
I mean, it gives it a sense of an internal conflict, similar to how we had with Avengers Endgame and Infinity Wars, having come off of Civil War, where Cap and Iron Man weren't getting along. So I think for a new generation and a new phase, you do have to have that. How do you get these people to come together and trust each other to fight this, conglomerate of villain? And I think with there being beef, and that'll also probably add a little bit of brevity, because I feel like Doctor Doom is such a heavy character, and I feel like he's going to kill a lot of the people that we have grown to love over the last probably 30 years. Because I mean, they have people from X-Men that are going to be in this movie. So yeah, I think it's gonna be it's gonna add at least elements of like internal conflict resolution and brevity that will be necessary for whatever chaos is about to go down.
Yeah, I still have my theory that everybody that they announced for Doomsday, over half of them are gonna die in this movie. I feel like majority of them are gonna get killed off. That's why you didn't see some of these other people get announced like that, like Spider-Man, Strange, and all of them. I was like, all these people about to die.
Yeah,
by the hands of Doom. But I agree. I like it too, just because it also starts to have us dive into some of the stories that we know from the comics of different names, like the New Avengers, the West Coast Avengers, the Mighty Avengers. And it's like, hopefully they maybe start playing off of that a little bit to be able to go like, hey, here are the different tiers, like even the Young Avengers. So, because we still have them like kind of circulating and seeing what's going to happen with Kamala Khan, Kate Bishop, Ant-Man's daughter, and what will they be recognized as? Will they even want to be called the Young Avengers, or what they want to be called? I think they were naming it like Young Champions or something like that. That was supposed to be the series that we're going to get. Who knows? But I think it shows a great placement of people who want to step up to try to protect this place, and where all of these fall under. Like, who's going to be street level? Who is dealing with, space threats and what's happening? Which was also very interesting because they said that something happened in space just now that they weren't being told. And it's not the images that we're seeing here, which is, of course, we revealed that the Fantastic Four ship that was just coming into orbit. Something happened prior to that. And so I'm curious, what do you think happened before we saw this Fantastic Four ship that the Thunderbolts and the New Avengers are not being let in on?
Ooh, I mean, it could be a myriad of things. We did, we left the Marvels with Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel kind of being sent back and trying to figure things out. We know that there is this other rift that has Polaris and Beast. Like there's so many different elements of people who are in space right now, and so much is ripping through space. So I think it could just be another rip in space, but there has to be a reason the Fantastic Four is coming here. My theory is they are chasing the Silver Surfer. I think that Galactus conquers their world in Fantastic Four, and we're seeing a defeated Fantastic Four having to come to Earth 616, and Silver Surfer maybe leading them away, maybe trying to run away from them, or is helping them.
Yeah, I have a different theory.
What's there?
I don't think that's the Fantastic Four.
Really?
I think that's Doom.
Masquerading as Fantastic Four.
I think Doom stole their ship and figured out how to get over here. I think that because what I saw in the trailer that kind of had me thinking was, I think we're picking up on a Fantastic Four that has been here for a minute. Like that has went through a whole bunch of stuff. And I think that includes defeating Dr. Doom. So I imagine Doom maybe being somewhere held up in the Baxter building in a prison as they're watching him and stuff like that, and just kind of keeping him at bay, because I feel like they've had their challenges. I feel like this is their biggest one they've got, and this is the one that they're just not going to be able to protect them from after everything they've done to try to help them within maybe the last 5 to 8 years. And so I think in leaving them and then leaving it to the planet to die, you have Doom escape, Doom hop in one of these ships, and then he beats them here. And then we now start to get that storyline of what we have with Iron Doom, because once he gets here, everybody mistakes him for Tony. And so if you think about it, this is a Doom who has nothing, comes here and finds out he looks like a dude who's a billionaire, who has an entire company dedicated to this technology. And remember, in this storyline that they had, there was one where Tony and Doom were roommates in college, and then Doom switches them to where he becomes Iron Man. And I think that's what you're going to see happen here in Doomsday. He's going to take control of Stark Industries, build himself a suit, and get all the technology he needs to start Secret Wars.
Now, I got to ask you, are you recording this from your kitchen right now? Because you cooking. You cooking.
I appreciate that, man. Because what gave it to me was, I was like, this ship don't look like they regular ship. Like, this is like the first ship that they took when they went and got their powers. Because when you see it when the planet was exploding, I'm like, yo, this is a different ship. And so if you think about them leaving the planet to die, who else to try to get off this planet and know how everything works than Dr. Doom?
That's facts. That's real. Wow.
And I think that's what sets up Doomsday. And just like you said, with the rift that we got, who's to say he didn't go there first?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Cooking boy.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. But I do want to get just a few more things as far as like with that happening. Do we see any? We said that we're gonna see some deaths. Mm-hmm. Do we see any big signature deaths? And if we do, which one do you think? And it's like, yo, I don't see it happening, but if this happened, Marvel, you ain't shit for this. And give me my tissues.
One that I think would really mess me up is if they brought in like Halle Berry to kill her off like that, because she wasn't. I thought it was odd that she was not listed as one of the not listed as one when they did that like long reveal of all the chairs. Oh, yeah. So I was like, oh, that doesn't really make sense to have this whole X-Men team here, but not have Storm, right?
Yeah.
When you have Nightcrawler and all these people, Gambit, who we just got introduced to. Yeah. So yeah, that Halle Berry Storm was a character I really, as a young lad, I I grew up to be fond of. But one that would like tearjerker. Honestly, Bucky. I feel like Bucky's been through a lot, and if him and our new Captain America have this falling out and have these issues, and that doesn't go resolved, and Bucky gets killed, I think that would be like that. You have 4 more movies right there just based off of the guilt alone.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Just like you said, with everything Bucky they went through, to catch that L, I as much as I don't trust him, I'd be like, well, I didn't want him to die though. Like,
yeah,
we didn't have to do that. Like, let's let Bucky see his 150th birthday. Like, what we doing? Why we cutting this short? Yeah. For me, Miss Marvel, if Kamala Khan dies, I'll fucking lose it.
Yeah.
Not even just for her sake, for her family's sake. I'm like, don't you dare show me her family learning that she didn't make it. I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah. Because even the actor, she loves that role so much where you're like, play it forever.
Yeah. Especially with the X-Men coming, and we now learned in the comic books that she's actually a mutant. Yeah. And now that they've actually put it in the story, so I'm just like, let's make that happen. But I do want to get your predictions on that. So leading into Doomsday, before we get out of here, leading to Doomsday, we know that leads to Secret Wars. What are your predictions on what happens in Secret Wars, and where does that lead us to after the movie is done?
I think with Secret Wars, that's because, again, I think you mentioned earlier, so much of what this phase hinges upon is cleaning up the messes made in previous movies, previous universes. So my biggest prediction is they bring in Morbius to die. They bring in
y'all gonna leave Morbius alone, man. Okay.
They bring in Craven to die. They bring in They bring in Madam Web to die.
Hey, I do that for a good long 15 minutes. I'll take that. That'll be the highlight of the movie.
They bring in Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider to die, and honestly, I think this would be a good way to kill off like the actors that are like 80 years old. So there's not really much you can do with Ian McKellen. God bless him. Great Magneto. He's too old. Him
and Patrick Stewart. I ain't like Patrick Stewart. After Logan, I was like, he ain't got too many more of these where he could be playing for Press X.
Yeah. So go ahead and let's wrap our boys up before they wrap themselves up. You know what I mean?
Exactly. My big theory is I don't think 616 is gonna survive.
What?
I don't think 616 is gonna make it.
You think they create a new one, or you think they just
I think a whole new world gets created, and this one is going to be where mutants exist. I think all of them are going to get destroyed, and it puts it into one timeline. And I think that also gives another reason for you to put Kang in here, because Kang lets y'all know, like, yo, because if you think about it, he's already had a Secret Wars, with himself, and he had to make it into one timeline. That's going to come back up. There's no way you gave us that with Loki, and that doesn't come back up. So I think that's what Secret Wars is going to lead to. What's going to be the one significant timeline, and which ones are going to make it, which ones are not. And like you said, I don't think we're going to have the old heads make it into this new one, but you'll see that we have new mutants that are in there. We'll see which person that is going to be the new Thor. I think we actually get a new Black Panther in Wakanda so we can continue that story. But I think we get a new Earth and a new reality for it, and it's not going to be called 616.
Yeah. Okay. And they age up baby T'Challa.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think what's the dude from what is it? Dang it. What is that man's name? From Snowfall could play T'Challa.
Okay, I wouldn't mind that.
But my big one is Eldest Hodge from Alex Cross.
Yeah,
that's who I want to be T'Challa.
Who's Hawkman right now?
Yeah. Well, he's not Hawkman now. He ain't Hawkman in James Gunn. Yeah. So I'm like, hey man, he ain't doing nothing. Go ahead and make that man Black Panther.
Yeah.
But if they really want to impress me, who come save everything? You just start hearing an engine revving. All of a sudden, you see a black car and he's fighting for family. Vin Diesel come save everybody in Secret Wars.
But as Dominic Toretto?
As Dominic Toretto.
He just drives the car into Galactus' eye and kills him. Then Galactus falls on top of Doom, and that's how they end the movie.
That's how they end the movie. And then the end credits, Tyrese and Ludacris.
Crazy.
Talking about where y'all at? I'm in front of the Swarmer station right now. Where y'all went?
They start roasting Tyrese for no reason.
For no reason. Just him and Ludacris sitting outside the Swarmer place waiting on Vin Diesel. And it just go off. I'm like, Marvel, you've done it again.
You know what's funny about Fast and Furious? But like the fact that that's the only like multi-movie staple where we only still call people by their actors' names. Like that, he is not. That's ludicrous. That's ludicrous. Paul Walker. That's
only Vin Diesel get called Dominic. That's it. We call everybody else by their real stage name.
Yeah, we know Dominic and Letty. That's it.
That's it. If you were to tell me $1 million, what is Tyrese's character's name in Fast and Furious? I've just lost $1 million.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't tell you to save my life right now what his name is in this movie. I think it's something with an R. That's all I remember.
Do not know. Ronaldo, I have no clue.
Something. That sound about right. Sound about right. So, but man, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another great edition of Straight Out of a Comic Book, man. I'd really like to thank my guest today, Martin, for coming through, man, taking the time to join me. Gonna definitely have you on the show more. Like you said, man, I want this to be a platform where folks like ourselves get a chance to come nerd out, to come talk about these things, because there's not too many platforms that do it. So I'm definitely glad to have you here. But before you get out of here, I always like to make sure folks that are watching this know where to go to follow, support you, so you can continue to do the things that you love. So please let them know, where can they follow and support you?
Hey, follow me at Martin M. Morrow, spelled like tomorrow, on Instagram, TikTok, all that jazz. Check out our wrestling podcast, Before the Bell podcast. Me, CT, Chris Burns, we hold it down each and every week talking this week in wrestling. So if you're a wrestling fan, if you know a wrestling fan, please let them know. Subscribe over on our YouTube channel at Late AF Productions. And if I post all my shows on my personal Instagram page. So if you're in Seattle on May 30th through 31st, come check me out. We'll be at Club Comedy Seattle.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And y'all know where to find me. Will Pharaoh, Pharaoh, across all socials, with the exception of Facebook. It is just W Pharaoh. Make sure you support my YouTube channel as well, where you get to see my wrestling podcast as well, the Kayfabe podcast. Definitely got to have you on there as well when we do our fantasy bookings and all kind of stuff like that, as well as the Strata Comic Book YouTube page and RK Tokens. Keep supporting, and then look out for the merch store, Crown and Cloak, that is coming very soon. You want to check that out. Have a whole bunch of merch on there for y'all to buy, and that is the best way you can support all the content that I am putting out. But once again, thank you for checking out another episode of Straight Up a Comic Book. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you next time.